My father used to say, "Watch this man."
He's been cited by IGN, The Quartering, Timcast, The Daily Wire, Bounding Into Comics, and even Dr. Jordan B. Peterson.
Disney insider WDW Pro recently speculated on.
Time and time again, he's broken big entertainment news live on the air.
I've been following WDW Pro and his track record for years. If you want to find out what's on the horizon for theme parks, Pro is where you go.
Morty, let's check in on Rian Johnson's new trilogy.
Okay. I bypassed the compressor.
What did you do, Ray? Son of a... That's gonna leave a mark.
Now, he was okay, after 6-7 weeks. Okay? They get over it. Kids are resilient like that.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It's the standard, what would George do?
I don't want you here.
So sorry, George. I didn't think it would go like this.
Fly, you fools!
I've fallen, and I can't get up.
Weird. Stay away from liquor, kids.
I have always liked Cowabunga.
Cowabunga!
Now that's more like it, Mr. Wayne.
It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
The Force will be with you, always.
That's how winning is done.
I am vengeance. I am the night.
That's what she said.
I am Batman.
If I won tonight, I would come home and we'd celebrate. Well, I'm coming home, we're celebrating. God bless you all.
Watch your habits, for they become your character. And watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. What we think, we become.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in just 2 minutes, the lighting at the Magic Kingdom will dim for the performance of the Pro Show. We hope you enjoy and have a magical, truthful time. For the safety of others, please, no flash photography. And welcome to Provision 3D.
Alright, everyone, put on your coffee glasses. Oh boy,
Keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
You know that you've been taught the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Yes, Paul.
Autobots, roll out!
I'm bringing the party to you.
If somebody's gonna try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money?
Fortune and glory, kid. Fortune and glory.
We're gonna do it!
Alright, it's time to go to school, son. Come on, get your hands up, man!
Are you okay?
They'll never take our freedom!
From the redwoods of California to the hills of Tennessee to the Rockies in the Sunshine State and Maine with that bright and shining sea. From coast to coast in North America, it's time for your host with the most, bringing you all the entertainment news that should be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the WDW Pro Show! Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are here yet again. Saying welcome, friends. Welcome, friends. We are on another Pro Show. We have set a record this week, and the reason we're doing it right now is not because we want to wreck your schedules nor ours, but rather because the hour is nigh. You demand a Thunderbolts review, and we're ready to bring you one down, not from high, but from the man on the ground. And Vash is one of those. Vash, you just went and saw Thunderbolts, and actually, Vash, we went and saw Thunderbolts in the same theater, a communal experience, and we're going to have quite a few people here on the panel tonight who went with us for that same experience. So, Vash, give me just a moment. I've got a request from someone else in the studio for a little assistance. Vash, take it over for just a second.
Absolutely. I think the best way to start out a stream like this, with so many great people on, with so many great opinions that they're going to share, I think it's time to do a little bit of a super chat-iness. That way, we make sure that we hear both your comments and ours. Mary Vita with the 999. Deploy the likes indeed, guys. Let me see if I have a... Do I have a applause or air horn? Yeah, there we go. How about this? There you go.
You serious, Clark?
He's got an air horn. Look out, ladies and gentlemen. He's dangerous with an air horn.
Gotta have an air horn. And yes, please, if you could like this stream, share us out if you really do like us, because we're going to be talking all about Thunderbolts, what our reactions to it were. Like Pro said, saw it with him, and boy, oh boy, this is a very interesting film, I must say.
Yeah, we'll get into it in just a moment. I was assisting, actually, Marvin getting into the studio here in just a moment, folks. We're going to have some more panelists. First, though, Vash, you may not be able to see these super chats. I'll put them on the screen for you. SS Roth for £5 says, just finished watching it, and it was better than I thought it would be, but that chicken fight was so out of the blue, but hilarious.
Yes.
And Vacuum Protons for 2, working on something. We'll see if anyone notices. Packing, we always notice you. All right. Well, Vash, we've got wait a minute. Is the panelist ready? I can't tell. He may be, he could be, he should be, he would be. He's Nolan Thunder. Nolan.
Hello, friends. Happy day to be here.
Happy day, happy day. We've also got Marvin, as I said. Marvin, welcome aboard.
Hello, gentlemen.
And I'm hoping we'll also be able to get Ron from Follow the Bradley's Fun and Lauren Connor on. We're going to work on that, folks. But everybody here went and saw the film. We saw it earlier today, and then we all gathered together with a huge number of YouTube content creators and makers out there for a dinner, and we rushed for all of you to get here in the studio, and we are ready to get started with a review of Thunderbolts asterisk. No, just Thunderbolts. We're not going to call it Thunderbolts asterisk. Thunderbolts, folks. Thunderbolts. Is it a movie that will save Marvel? I have thoughts on this. But before we get into it, I want to go to Vash. And Vash, tell us a little bit of what happens in the movie. Give us a rundown of what Thunderbolts is exactly.
Thunderbolts, with the asterisk, and that asterisk is there for a reason, basically picks up, from what I understand, where Black Widow left off. We find a young Florence Pugh, playing Elena at this point, doing missions for a CIA spin-off organization that I can't necessarily remember the name of. Nolan, do you have that name?
Which character?
The CIA spin-off organization. Anyway, it doesn't really much matter.
The CIA was an independent company that the head of the CIA had a tie to.
Yes, and that played by Juliette Lewis-Dreyfus, who plays the head of the CIA.
No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. She plays Elaine playing a senator.
Yeah,
That's very true.
It is the most overacting thing. Julia Dreyfus does not do well in this movie.
She was miscast.
Overacts. Oh my gosh, it's so bad.
She was miscast. When we saw it together, I looked over to Nolan. I was like, "She's miscast," and Nolan's like, "She kind of reminds me of a sitcom that my parents used to watch." And I'm like, "Yeah, she's Elaine from Seinfeld. That's who she is, and that's who she's
I don't
playing."
know what you're talking about.
Awkward.
I can't even believe you would say that.
Yeah, and then my ability to take her seriously went right out the window after that. I felt a bit bad for her.
But was this movie sponge-worthy?
I don't know. The question is, will there be shrinkage at the box office?
Oh boy. Oh, get your Festivus hats ready. All right. So Florence Pugh's character, Elena, is going through a number of jobs working for this said organization, right? And she feels unfulfilled. She feels like she's missing something in her life. And that's kind of a running theme here is with togetherness, having somebody in your life. There's very much a familial aspect to this, which I thought, and Nolan, I think, agrees. We all thought that was a kind of a good thing. But she's kind of going through these missions and she's like, look, I just, I don't really feel like this is what I should be doing at this point. She's obviously, still grieving over the loss of her sister Natasha and so forth. She actually goes over to her father's house, played by David Harbour, and we see David Harbour, and he's reliving the good old days. We see him; he's on the couch, he's out of shape, he's got a couple cold ones in him, and he's reliving the days of when he was the Red Guardian, if I'm not mistaken, for Russia, the Soviet Union at that point. And they have a little bit of a scene together in which she kind of expresses to him what she's feeling, and apparently they haven't talked to each other for a year, and that's how that goes. Meantime, we have Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character Valentina, and she apparently is getting impeached from her position. And so apparently she's been, doing a lot of stuff on the side. She's looking to, not go to prison for what she's been doing. So she wants to take all of her assets and dispose of them. And that's really where our characters get together and find out that, well, they're hunting each other in order to be part of that disposal process.
All right, let me walk the folks out there through what I think about this movie in a broad sense. Then we're going to break it down into a higher resolution. Here's what I think. This is Suicide Squad meets Guardians of the Galaxy, but without the humor. And I also think that the first third of the film is utterly awful. Everybody listen to me, okay? The first third of the film is tremendously awful. It is so awful that I really did. I tried hard because I'm reviewing this thing. And yet I was falling asleep. And it was a struggle. And I thought, I don't see how I'm going to make it through this movie. And then I thought, oh no, these people that we've talked to that we trust, who are, they say that this is actually not a terrible Marvel movie. It's not good, but it's not terrible. I thought, oh no, I must have a completely different taste in movies than these people. This is terrible. Then the second third of the film, the middle third, was kind of like, meh. It wasn't bad, wasn't necessarily good, but it was better than the first third. And then I don't know if this was written by two different people or what, but the final act of this film is completely different than the first two. It turns into a Scarecrow Inception psycho thriller / therapy session. And I found the final third, the final act of the film, to be excellent. It's not flawless, but it's excellent. So if you're going to go out and have 1/3 of your movie be excellent, and you got to pick which one you want that to be, you'd pick the finale. But boy, oh boy, is it a terrible slog to get to that final act. Yeah. And Julia Dreyfus is part of the slog. Marvin, do you agree with all that?
I do, actually. I agree with it pretty much exactly what you said. There was one point where I was like, man, if I wasn't here with everybody, I would have walked out. when they talk about Jonathan Walker, U.S. agent, and my problem with they dunked on him. He was the punching bag for the ladies for the entire movie. But when they said like he killed an innocent man on camera, and I'm like, innocent man. That organization that guy was a part of blew up a hospital and killed an American soldier. Like, are we really still talking about the villains from Falcon and Winter Soldier as if they're good guys? I hated that. And I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Florence Pugh, I think her first line is, I've made mistakes. I said, like, dating Zach Braff. But then as the movie kept going, it got to the point where I just looked over and I'm like, I'm very much enjoying this, like toward the end of it. Like, just like you said, I love the I've always felt that the Sentry, who is, main character in this, is a great idea, but Brian Michael Bendis was the wrong writer to bring that to life. And I liked what they did with him here. I thought I really enjoyed it. There were moments where you had Red Guardian. There's a moment toward the end where he is a father to Yelena, and he's a good father. I'm like, there's a positive, like, paternal role model in this movie, actually, who actually says the right thing for his daughter and is there for her. I was like, where'd this Marvel come from?
I'll tell you the other thing that doesn't work though, Marvin. Bucky. So Louise, whatever her name is, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She does not work in any way whatsoever. I mean, it's awful. Bucky doesn't work. Bucky does not work in this.
But Bucky felt to me like studio interference. Like, they were like, well, this is the team. And they're like, no, you need somebody who's been in an Avengers movie before. Throw Sebastian Stan in there as Bucky. And that's what, because he had no emotional connection to the rest of the team. He was not a part of the story until the third act.
And you know that, Marvin, that he had no emotional connection to it because I think you said it best. He felt tacked on. He felt inserted. And you could tell, rather, that they were trying to push him because the first promotional materials for this film that actually came out pushed the fact that Bucky was coming back, and he was coming back as the Winter Soldier. I believe the first kind of big promotional piece that we saw was the limo scene with Bucky making his appearance.
Well, let's get Lauren in on his thoughts. Lauren and I have had an agreement, a gentleman's agreement, that we're basically not going to talk about the movie until right now. We had plenty of time to talk about it, but we have not. Saving it for you folks. Lauren, I have said that the first third was terrible to the point that I was trying not to fall asleep. The second third was meh. And the final third was some of the best Marvel ever. In fact, possibly the best villain we've ever seen in any Marvel film. But you have to go through such an atrociously bad movie to get there. I might recommend for people to watch this on Disney Plus one day and skip the first hour. Lauren, give us your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, it's a weird animal because I don't particularly care for any of these characters with the exception of the Winter Soldier. And as you said, he's not represented well in this movie. But by the time you get to the last act, and this is a really weird thing to say, they go in a direction that I would have thought wouldn't work in a movie, particularly this type of movie. You can call it, in a way, a therapy session. But I had an emotional reaction to it. And part of that is because essentially you're dealing with, in a metaphorical way, a cinematic way, anxiety. And that's something that I happen to suffer from. And in the middle of those scenes where they're dealing with it, I thought that they actually handled it in a way that is the best visual representation of what anxiety feels like. And it hit me like a gut punch in an emotional way that I was not entirely comfortable with, but in a good way, because I thought it was an accurate representation of what those feelings are like and the way that it brought the team together to rescue themselves, and this subject of this, I thought, was a good theme. So it's this weird thing where the theme of the movie is actually a really good one. Mm-hmm. It's just that the characters themselves, I think, are not the best to be pushing as the new Avengers. They don't work as that. So,
Lauren, you've made me feel sorry for anxiety for the first time in my life. I actually feel sorry for anxiety because if you're going to battle anxiety, it's just not a fair fight. Anxiety has no chance. This movie, I thought, had no chance. For the first 60 minutes, Nolan, Were you enjoying it? And what do you think about whether or not this can save the MCU?
Yeah, honestly, when I was at the theater, I was watching the film and it really hit me that I was like, I am legitimately really enjoying this film. And Lauren was talking a bit about this as someone who has had his own struggles with some of the subject matter of this film. Normally, I wouldn't trust Disney, Kevin Feige, Marvel, or any of them to tackle these kinds of topics. But I'm saying, honestly, if you're someone who struggles with those kind of things, this is a great film to watch in learning morality, importance in those around you, and having a better life for your own self. And it's not something I thought I would ever say about a Marvel movie. I don't know what kind of stuff that happened for the writers here. Like, I feel like a lot of current Hollywood productions are therapy sessions and trauma dumping in a negative context, where they've had a lot of these people had bad connections with their own family. And yet this film somehow threads the needle and gives a great moral, a great representation of the battles those people go through. And I feel like it's actually one of the smartest Marvel movies made if you go by that last act. I'm not as negative on it as Pro is at the beginning stuff. I do think it's kind of your typical cookie cutter Marvel in a lot of way. There are certain characters I do rather vibe with myself, but at the end of the day, it really is the second half of the film that really makes this thing. Do I think this can save Marvel? Definitely not, because I know Fantastic Four is in the pipeline here, and I think that's going to ruin the chances this one has. But I really hope, if what we were talking about yesterday, if this stuff is true, that Avengers Doomsday does not have a script yet, that definitely means that they're kind of gauging what's going on with the Thunderbolts here. I was talking to Marvin and Vash a bit about that, and hopefully that means they can learn the right lessons. I'm sure they won't, but I'm at least thankful that we got a good movie out of this that can hopefully benefit a lot of people.
Well, let me throw this to you, because there's something interesting about this, and that is, I don't think I want to see any of these characters again. So I like the lesson that's embedded in the third act. And there's a particular scene in which all of the characters come together in a way that you've never seen anything like it in Marvel before, or maybe in any other superhero film. And it, in terms of a psychoanalysis of what heals people, it's wonderful. At the same time, and panel, this is what I'm throwing to you, I don't need to see any of these characters again. I don't want to see any of these characters in an Avengers movie, because I think these characters were very secondary to what that lesson was. And I didn't buy these characters. Like, when I'm watching Miss Pugh at 5'2" take down 6'5" guys, I'm not buying it. I mean, I'm just not, And so I don't need them to clutter up the next Avengers movies. But I wouldn't dissuade someone from seeing this movie at the same time.
I think that's why this is such a weird animal, is that these guys are very clearly the B team and maybe the C team. They're not somebody that I'm really driven to go and see more from. But the struggle that they collectively go through and how they eventually do congeal as a team, what drives that, how they solve the problem, is the right message. Somehow they managed to get the right message in this movie. And I'd also say, for Discount Captain America, I think that he's redeemed a little bit from his arc in Falcon and Winter Soldier. They actually improved that character for me. And I think that Wyatt Russell does a great job playing the part.
Go ahead.
Let's get Marvin first. Marvin, do you want to see these characters in the Avengers films coming up?
I do, because I like these characters a whole heck of a lot better than Sam Wilson, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and all of those characters. I think that they are infinitely more engaging and entertaining and relatable. I don't need smirking girl boss Captain Marvel when Florence Pugh gave me a very human, very flawed performance and a character that I kind of latched onto a bit there.
And she's not a girl boss. She's not a girl boss. She does girl boss things. I mean, it's the silliness of watching it's like watching a little gymnast take down Muhammad Ali. I mean, it would never happen. But in terms of the emotional nature of a girl boss, she's not that.
She's extremely flawed and wears those flaws on her sleeve. And this entire movie is she actually has a full, complete arc and journey, which is this movie made me hate Captain America Brave New World more than I already hated it. And I already hated that movie. But I would rather see these guys in an Avengers movie than I would see the what I call the actual Avengers B team, which is, you know, a bunch of people with the names of our heroes that aren't actually our heroes.
All right, let's get Vash in with his thoughts, and then we'll get Ron as well. Go ahead, guys.
I agree. I see. I agree with Marvin. I think these characters are better, or probably the best characters that Marvel's introduced in a little while, and they get you to care about their stories and their struggles as the film progresses. Maybe not so much in the first third, but definitely with the second and third acts there, I would say. The other thing too is I think the material is kind of weighed down by the fact that it is in a Marvel gift wrap, right? It's in a Marvel present. The real core of this film, I think, really works, especially when it comes to Bob's story. I don't want to reveal any more than that, but that's actually really, really good stuff. But the fact that it has to exist in this Marvel MCU, and we have to have connecting tissue everywhere, and it just gets weighed down a little bit by that. And that's why I think that if this was like somehow outside of the MCU, I think it would have worked a lot better. To be honest with you, go ahead, Ron.
The film for me was really slow to start. I almost fell asleep as well during the first third of this. And the difficulty that I have with that is I go to the movies typically to have fun, to have a good time, to enjoy myself. And it took a long time into this movie before I started to feel like, okay, this is it's picking up. It's a little bit fun.
God, why did y'all watch this movie? This sucks.
What did Valiant say?
He said, "What are you guys gonna watch this movie? It sucks."
Oh gosh, but no, it's. I have been wanting to see the character Bob, the Sentry, the Void, and how they would pull that off, how they would handle that character. He's actually the character that I want to see the most from coming up of any of these. However, I will say this, they completely wasted Sebastian Stan in this movie. I was really upset about that because Bucky plays a huge role in Captain America's life, Captain America's movies. He should, and now you finally have a chance for him to take the forefront of everything. It's no longer just the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's no longer Captain America and Bucky. It is Bucky gets to lead a team, and they just do not show off what potential leadership skills that he showed that he may have had in the past, and he did not bring that to this, and it's not his fault. I think it's the writer's fault. They did not write him into the movie enough, give him, as a matter of fact, they could have written out Elaine, whatever, and just gave all of that stuff to Bucky, and it would have been fine.
Hey, Vash, tell Ron, I don't know if he can hear me, tell Ron that Senator or Representative Bucky just doesn't work. Oh, wait a minute. There's something going on. What is happening here? What are they? Where can this guy possibly be? How many? Oh, it's another cameo. Valiant Renegade, folks.
I haven't even seen it. I've had enough of this movie.
Oh. You know what? Hey,
That's
Valiant.
what we're doing Sunday on the Renegade Nation.
Valiant, we need to get Michelle over here. Get the ladies from Force of Light on the screen sometime. That's what we need to do.
Give me 10 minutes. Let me get over to Michelle's house. Hang on.
All right, he's on it. He's on it. All right. All right.
Out this late.
Yeah, he's up so late. He's a grandfather. He can't hardly stay up any longer. All right, guys in the room. I guess I'm going to call this the guys' room over there. Guys, any other thoughts on Nolan? What in the world? There's a.
Sorry, guys. I just walked in. I walked through there. Sorry.
There are now hand puppets. We have completely lost. We're off the reservation.
Ubi is joining the MCU herd.
Yes. All right, well, guys in the guys' room, tell us, please. I'm just curious when it comes to the actors. Any standouts? Any people who fall short? We've talked about Bucky. We've talked about Julia, or we'll just call her Elaine. Any other standouts? Any other fall downs?
I really liked the Sentry.
Lauren says that Florence Pugh did a really good job. I actually think I agree with that statement, actually, because Florence Pugh actually carried this film. It was on her shoulders, and some people weren't too happy about that when, you know, everything was announced and everything like that, but she does actually carry the film surprisingly. I mean, I was very surprised. Go ahead.
Yeah, her acting probably had the best chops to it, I would say. What's the guy that plays the Red Guardian?
David Harbour.
David Harbour is it's his Russian stuff is a little too cheesy in moments where there's some parts it's like perfectly fine, but it's not balanced. It's not a balanced performance throughout, and you can tell it's just like you can tell there were certain days he was really on his game, and other days he wasn't when it was filming and shooting, and they edited it together, and I could feel that, at least personally. I don't know how anybody else feel that way.
But I think what really worked there was the relationship between her and him. And that's the emotional core.
The father-daughter.
Yeah. And I thought that really worked. I thought both of them sold it.
And Valiant, you did not go see the movie. Is that correct?
Me? Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I haven't seen it yet. I would have seen it. Y'all went to see it. Probably y'all went to go see it about an hour before I got in town. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm on that.
I was
Just
out.
clarifying
But
for the
can I
crowd.
ask a question? Did Florence Pugh go full Oppenheimer in this movie? Yes or no?
In what regard?
Boobs.
Oh.
No, that has been during the press tour. I don't know if you. Yeah, we won't go there.
Well, look, you got a couple of second
Guys out
generation
there,
stars.
Whatever.
I was saying you got a couple second
Comic
generation
relief,
stars
in case you didn't catch it. So it's
comic relief.
Yeah.
You got Kirk Douglas's son as I thought he did a great job as U.S. agent. I really glommed onto that character. I was like, I would rather see him than Sam Wilson Captain America. Also, he felt more like a flawed Captain America to me. Even though he was, like I said, the punching bag for most of the movie. And, Florence Pugh, famously, her father Pepe Le was a big star back in the day. So it's good to see the kids of stars making it in the world today.
All right, well, let's go into a spoiler time now. And before we do, Vash, let's go ahead and hit super chats. And once we've got those super chats cleared out, we'll go into spoiler territory, folks. So stick with us if you want to find out what happens in the movie. Otherwise, it's time to close your eyes and your ears, lest you fear that we spoil the film for you.
Thank you. And VR is leaving the room right now. Jeremiah Hembury with the $10. I asked Chris Gore if he makes any bad or evil remarks towards Donald Trump or Elon, and he said no. He also said that Elon is not a reference for Lex Luthor.
Interesting. Well, we have not seen Superman yet, so we can't comment on that. Right. In regards to this film, though, I would say that no, there are no references to Orange Man Bad, nor to the Rocket Man, Elon.
Which is refreshing, seeing as how one of the characters is dealing with impeachment. So that was a low-hanging fruit, and they just went right around it, and I admire that.
And it's one of the first words that you hear in the movie is the word impeachment, and I was like, oh, here we go, but it never went there.
Yep, never does.
Thankfully, it did not go there, which was very good to see and hear. John Maynor with the $5. Truly terrible, meh, and excellent means it is a truly terrible movie. I don't know. I don't think it was the worst Marvel film, and I even don't think it was a bad film. It wasn't a great, amazing stand-up Marvel film, but it wasn't bad either. And you can tell that there was a vision behind it that was very unique for this particular film, which was appreciated by the audience, from what I understand.
I would say it's the most fun I've had in a Marvel movie since Guardians 3.
Well, we will. There were parts of Guardians 3 that were not fun. I'll tell you that. We'll give a score, folks, at the end of the video. So hang tight. We'll give you the review score in just a few. Next up, we've got PR Burke 1. Vash, read it for us, please.
Absolutely, for $4.99. Cool that you all met up. Are you in Orlando? I know Vash is usually a West Coaster. What brought the meetup?
We are in secret Russian bunker with Red Guardian, watching movies. That's where we are.
We're somewhere sunny USA.
That's right, in the studio in somewhere sunny USA, folks. That's where we are. And what we're doing, well, we're meeting up with tons and tons of content creators and people behind the scenes that you may not even know who help us do the things we do, and just having a good time and mapping out the time ahead of us.
Indeed. Sephiroth with the £5 British. I found it, I found it the same pro, boring first, and it got okay. Then the last third was good. Wish the rest was as good as the last third. I will agree. The last third was actually really, really strong. Ron, you were going to say something?
Yeah, the only part in the last third that I didn't like is there's a part where all 6 of the characters are holding up this giant heavy thing, and there are at least 2 of them that don't have any superpowers. That'd be like, why are you here?
Yeah, you could clearly, it was like a bonding moment kind of thing, and it was very forced. And it's like, okay, this is not how this should go down.
Yeah, and again, I'm telling you, the first third is so bad that I was literally fighting falling asleep. And I was, folks, if you've ever been in a church service and your head starts to nod and you just can't stop it, that's where I was in this movie for the first third. And I'm going to tell you, and he'll know who I'm talking about, somebody beside me started snoring in the first third.
That's what's so weird about this movie is that it goes through such a weird arc in that the first bit of the movie is almost inexorable. It's like this is I saw nothing redeeming in it and didn't see any sign that it was going to redeem itself. But when it gets to that point, when it starts to do so, it's so startling that it's going to make scoring this thing really, really difficult. I don't know what kind of a number you give this thing.
Vash, keep them coming. I can't add anything to that.
Absolutely. Mary Vita with the 499. I love your reactions / reviews. I end up rewatching them multiple times. And these cameos, LOL. Yes, well, you're gonna have a lot of fun, Mary Vita, over this show right here. It's gonna be it's gonna be a blast.
At this point, it wouldn't surprise me if the Force of Light ladies showed up. I'm just telling you, it wouldn't surprise me if anybody. Mexican Iron Man may come crashing in. Who knows?
Absolutely. Let's see here. Mary Vita with another 499. Apple played me again. Sigh.
Darn those spelling errors.
Indeed. Kitty M with the member for 24 months. Thank you so much. 2 years, by the way. How many content creators can you fit in a room? 4, apparently.
Well, there's the Mr. Beast is doing those Beast games, or he was. I think he gave up on it. That's our game we're bringing out. We're developing it right now. This was a trial run of the future upcoming game show. How many content creators can you fit in a room? Get ready. Pat Sajak is signing the contract as we speak.
Indeed. Kenneth LaRoque with the Canadian $5 for the goal with a winky face. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And folks, we are almost at the halfway point for the goal, and we are almost at the halfway point for the show. So get those super chats in, and we'll take a special Q&A if we hit the goal for the evening.
Absolutely. Chris DeLay with the 199. Power to the 199. Hail to the 199. The CGI seemed better in the new Avengers, and there's a reason we're calling it that, folks, but I gotta say for the spoiler time. And yes, I do agree. Yeah,
well, I thought the CG was actually pretty bad in some places in this movie. Like in the first third, there were a couple of moments where I was like, ugh.
When there's a moment. Well, okay, we'll get into it with the spoiler talk, I guess.
Yeah, we'll spoil it in just a moment.
You got it. All those journal with $2. Thank you so much. Just made it. Is this Inception? Yes. This is exactly
stream within a stream within a stream.
That's right. Meet Scarecrow from Batman. That's the final third. And I could go for an entire movie of that. Or at least I could go for 80% of the movie being that. But that's not what we had. This is 2 different movies put together. All right, let's talk spoilers. And we're going to go directly to the villain, not villain. All right. Gentlemen, let's talk about Bob. What about Bob? We'll go to Marvin first. Marvin, tell us about Bob. We are now in spoiler territory. Tell us about Bob and tell us about all the powers that Bob is going to take into the MCU now. And we assume the future movies. So if people don't watch this movie, Bob's going to be back at some point and he's basically a god. Tell us about it.
So Bob's character, for those of you who don't know, Robert Reynolds, the Sentry. He was a creation of Brian Michael Bendis from back in the aughts. He came in during the New Avengers storyline, the breakout storyline that was basically when Marvel decided, like, hey, let's make the Avengers into the Justice League and just stick all of our major heroes into it. He was a new creation. They were like, well, what about a Superman type character who's invulnerable? on the outside, but is so vulnerable inside his mind. He has severe mental problems. I thought Bob was fantastic in this. Now, Bob's powers are has the power of 1,000,000 exploding suns, is the way they always have said it. But he had a comic accurate suit, and he had telepathy powers that I don't remember him having in the comics in this one, but super strong, super fast, basically Superman with like weird telepathy powers. But when Bob loses it, he turns into the Void, which is the evil side of him. It's his mental health issues made manifest. And that was done very poorly in the comics. I always felt the Sentry was a super good idea that was created by a super bad writer who didn't do a good job with it.
And let me talk you something, Marvin. I think this should have been a Bob movie. I think the Thunderbolts stuff, if this was more Bob and less Thunderbolts, it's a much better film.
I think that with the way we leave it with Bob, I think that Bob is going to be a big factor in the Marvel universe coming forward, because I think that's going to be your in case of emergency break open glass situation, kind of the way he was in Marvel Comics for a while before they realized that they just had nothing for him and they killed him off in the Siege of Asgard.
But here's the problem, and I'm going to hand it to the other panelists. Here's the problem with that, Marvin. This is something the MCU is dealing with. There are no stakes anymore. And there are no stakes because the Fantastic Four, they're in their own dimension. Who even knows? The X-Men are in their own multiverse, whatever. We've got Vision that was dead, but then made into a new manifestation from the Scarlet Witch. We don't know what's happened to him, but he's crazy powerful. The Scarlet Witch herself is crazy powerful and can create new realities. Captain Marvel, wherever she is, and we hope she stays there and doesn't come back, but she's all powerful. Now there's this God that's out there. Like, we can't keep up. And none of these characters have had their arcs wrapped up. And we can't follow any of it. For crying out loud, Loki is now somehow holding together the sacred timeline, and nobody even knows what that is. So they've got to wrap up all this in 2 Avengers movies. And I'm like, good luck with that. And good luck with people having taken enough notes to know what the heck's going on with all of this mess. The stakes are just too big. Nolan, tell us your thoughts, and then we'll go back to the guys' quarters up there.
There's no way they're going to be able to do this. They've already pretty much announced that they are going to have a bunch of the Fox X-Men characters coming in this next movie. We're probably also going to see Hugh Jackman and Tobey Maguire show up. And then we got the new Avengers as introduced in this film. I think they're kind of trying to set up here for like a sort of civil war again. They want to go into that pot again, and they want to have the new Avengers facing off with the pseudo new Avengers, whatever Sam is trying to assemble. And we're going to get a cool Bucky versus Falcon type thing. It could really be a fun idea if it has the writing quality of this movie. However, they are going to shoehorn all these X-Men characters in. They're probably going to want to have a group team with Hugh Jackman, Tobey Maguire for the member berries. The whole thing's going to be a convoluted mess. And not to mention, Feige's going to want to throw in, Miss Marvel or something like that. And I like Kamala Khan, but it's just going to result in a mess. Does anyone here confidently feel like, even if like they come here and they actually do a good job with it, are they going to be able to resolve like these 20-something plot lines? I just don't think that's going to be possible with the amount of actors they're taking on. And not to mention, every Marvel movie needs changes, reshoots, script changes. This isn't really doable realistically. Am I wrong here?
That's up to the panel.
You have 25 different characters that have already been cast for Doomsday, and we know there's more. The cast list is not complete. So how do you even have the time to even develop 3 or 4 of those characters, and with the complexity that even this film offers for its characters? There's really no way. And so that's the thing. It's like, we all know that this is a continuation of an ongoing narrative right here, but honestly, it really needed to leave a very good impression in order to have people really invested and to keep this storyline going. When you get to Doomsday, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to pull it off. This film, I think, is really it really is the director who directed it. You can tell it was his film. And you could tell that these characters were push through this narrative in a very interesting and unique way. I just don't know if that holds up over time.
Lauren, what do you think about the powers?
Very much almost like a standalone movie in a way. All of these characters have appeared elsewhere and have had stories, but frankly, I don't think I've seen any of them because I hadn't watched a Marvel movie in a long, long time. That said, they did a good enough job of setting them up and showing who they were that I didn't feel lost. But I think this could work as a standalone, but I don't know that it should necessarily slot into something like Doomsday because that cast list already seems bloated. Like I said, I don't particularly care about these Thunderbolts characters themselves outside of this little self-contained story. I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
It's the moral. Vash, tell him it's the moral of the story that matters, not the characters. And that's what's strange because Marvel is usually so weak on the moral, on the ethic. It got it right this time. That's bizarre.
That was the kind of the weird thing was that they got so much right with the story, and I do agree with Lauren. I mean, I kind of want to know these the stories of these specific characters right here and how this specific narrative kind of reaches its conclusion or goes through its story arcs and so forth with this director. I don't think we're necessarily going to get that. I don't think this film is going to earn enough to justify that, and it's really a shame. By the way, the asterisk there, and why we're calling it the New Avengers is because, well, that's the real title at the end. It's the New Avengers, and the way that was all done, by the way, guys, I don't know if you guys had the same reaction.
That was dumb. The way it ends was really, really, and let me add an extra, really dumb.
With Sam Wilson being like, no, you get to be the Avengers. I'm the Avengers.
Well, and with them walking through a curtain and Elaine, who from Seinfeld, has it perfectly planned out, that was so dumb.
Yeah. They were set up on the street. They're set up on the street, like after the big battle has concluded, and you're thinking, okay, well, Julia Louis-Dreyfus' character is finally going to get her comeuppance.
They just destroyed New York and brought it back, and there's a freaking press pool just waiting there. Like, oh well, we didn't have anything better to do.
There was a lot of the writing in this movie, story wise, that just did not make sense. I think it was written by. Do you think it was written by committee?
Well, there's some of that because it feels so tonally different between the first half and the second half.
Right.
But the press conference thing actually had been set up earlier in the movie because she thought she was going to expose all of them as being rogue agents that she was cleaning up to try and save her reputation. But because you've just had this big emotional climax, they kind of ended on this comedic bit and it feels tonally off again. And I think this is some of the identity crisis that the movie gives you. I also had a question, I think probably from Marvin. One of the things that throws me off about this is that the name that they give themselves for the team is the Thunderbolts from Yelena's old soccer group. And I think this was supposed to be a team under Thunderbolt Ross, right?
That's 100% correct, Lauren. In the comics, the Thunderbolts are the team of Thunderbolt Ross, and the Red Hulk is on the team usually.
Yeah, this is a really bad retcon. Really bad retcon.
Made it into a red herring completely. Like the Thunderbolts, the whole idea of the name Thunderbolts had nothing to do with Thunderbolt Ross. As a matter of fact, they threw him under the bus. They even talked about what the Red Hulk president and that he was in prison now, and it was done. That part of it was done really, really oddly, and I think especially for comic fans who might have been fans of the Thunderbolts team in the comics. It might be an insult to those people. Again, it's one of those things that was very similar to the decision in Iron Man 3 to change the what's his name with the ring?
Mandarin.
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin. It was a very, very similar to that, where we're going to take the Mandarin that people love from the comic books and we're going to change him, making him into this kind of cartoonish character who is just taking the name, and that's what happened here. Was the same thing with this team. It's not the Thunderbolt Ross team. It's not that. It is, we're just calling ourselves as Thunderbolts because that was the name of her soccer team.
Which is the dumbest. I mean, the dumbest. And it puts David Harbour's character at a cartoon level that's just really hard to swallow, even though he is basically a walking cartoon. Okay. All that said, Ron, tell us about the post-credit scenes and what you thought of them.
All right, so the first post-credit scene is a throwaway scene where the new Avengers have gotten themselves on
the eating shawarma, Ron.
It's a shawarma scene, but the new Avengers are on the box of Wheaties. And you've seen this in the promo shots. There's a poster of the Thunderbolts, except though they're little asterisks because it's not the Thunderbolts, it's the New Avengers. They're on a box of Wheaties. David Harbour's character is in a grocery store and he's trying to show this lady that, hey, I'm on this box of Wheaties because he wants to be famous. It's stupid.
And he while he's reliving his glory days, he has that conversation with Yelena, his daughter, about how, hey, you know, be on a Wheaties box. That's kind of what the superhero thing is all about, and being a hero is all about. Go ahead, Lynn.
It's such an outdated joke. Who thinks about characters on Wheaties boxes these days?
I didn't know that Wheaties were still even in in supermarkets. I thought that one had gone away.
They have them. They do.
Like, gosh, this feels like a boomer joke, but
yeah,
what
I was waiting for them to want to be on a Snapple can or something.
You know what? If these guys were going to become the new Avengers, I would have made them a take on the Dark Avengers. I would have put Rhodey with them as Iron Patriot. I would have put the Red Hulk on the team. There was a lot more they could have done here, I think. But I also like the team as is as well.
All right, Ron, tell us about the second post-credit scene.
Second post-credit scene is a tie-in to, I'm assuming, Avengers Doomsday.
Fantastic Four.
Well, yes, it has that tie-in. It does have a tie-in to the Fantastic Four, but it talks about events taking place 14 months in the future, which means a year and 2 months after this film takes place. I believe it is a tie-in because what's happening is they're seeing a Fantastic Four ship from a different dimension come into our dimension, so they're seeing the Pedro Pascal version of Reed Richards come into our dimension. I think that's going to play into the Doomsday movie. Not sure, but it starts off with them being in what they're actually using, the old Avengers Tower. They bought that, they purchased that. Yeah. So they're using the old Avengers Tower in New York City. They're in that room, and they're talking about how Sam Wilson's Avengers are trying to sue the new Avengers for the name rights. It's just, that's stupid. It's just really dumb.
All that takes away from what is much better in the psycho thriller part of this film. So it's two films, and folks, when we're outside of the psycho thriller part, you'll notice that we're incredibly negative. And it's
I actually just had a thought.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal is turning up in everything, right?
Yeah, he's in Thunderbolts. Folks, there's the big lesson today. Pedro's in Thunderbolts.
That he is actually Kang and playing all the Council of Kangs now?
You know what? That would be the first time Pedro was playing a character that I think actually matches who Pedro is in real life. Pedro is Kang. Yes, I'm with that. All right, guys, it's time to give the review score for this film. It's going to be exceedingly difficult because, again, this is essentially two films. The smaller by far of the films, Vash says it's 3. There's a really cool movie buried in this, and it is covered. It's like a very delicious piece of candy that is covered in a lot of unpleasantness that you've got to get to the candy. Nolan, we'll start with you on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is the worst film you've ever seen, and 10 is Godfather. Tell us where this is.
I really want to give this film an 8 because I really do attach with Florence Pugh's character and like her father-daughter relationship and the mental health stuff with the villain. But at the end of the day, I'm going to give this film a 7 to be on the safe side because I need some further time to really see what the longevity of my opinions of this film will be. But this is one of the few films I've seen in the theater where I feel like I would happily see it again with my cousin or something like that. So I'm giving it a 7, but that's could change for the better in the future.
Marvin, let's go to you next. Marvin, what do you say on a scale of 1 to 10?
So you know what? I would say a 7.5. I think it was a solid C. It was average. It would have been probably an 8, but that first third really dragged it down. I like the characters. This was something new. It wasn't the same formulaic Marvel nonsense with the big CGI battle at the end. It had a story to tell, and it told it. It had a message that was good and not political and universal that I think a lot of people could connect with. So yeah, 7.5 for me, which for modern Marvel, it might as well be a 10.
All right, Vash, what say you?
I'm gonna have to go with the 7 myself. I think this film could have been a lot better. Had some of its greater themes and greater narratives really been explored to the depth and degree that they possibly could have. But again, I don't know if that works within a Marvel framework, which is really unfortunate. I think this film really picks up, this film kind of starts with the limo scene. And, for those of who have actually watched it, you kind of know where I'm getting at. And there's a promo piece that they released very early on where you see that limo scene actually play out. I think that film.
The limo scene, though, is still bad, too. The limo scene's still bad.
I don't think it necessarily is the greatest scene, but I think the story really kind of gets going from that point.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But, that whole thing with three armored vehicles firing machine gun turrets into a limousine, and it just keeps driving, man. It just keeps driving. And what stops it? Darn that Bucky. All right, Ron, your turn.
I'm going with a 6, which is probably a little bit lower. Just above a 5, just above mid. This to me was, and I think of the other Marvel movies I've watched, better than Eternals, better than Quantumania, definitely better than the Marvels. It is better than a lot of Marvel movies that have come out, but I did not find it as entertaining as Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's the kind of movie that I personally thought I wouldn't go back to the theater to watch it. I think this would be a better thing to watch at home this is a personal feeling. It's not big enough, it's not grand enough to see at the movie theater. Like Minecraft, for example, not a great movie, but such a spectacle to see at a theater, and you have a lot of great visuals in Minecraft. The first third of this movie is dark and boring. It just will make you possibly fall asleep in the movie theater. I'd rather do that at home, so I give it a 6. And also it's taken down by Elaine and her character so much. I really, it's like watching two different movies at the same time. It's very strange that way.
Yep. I'm going to give this a 6 as well. I think that the smaller portion is a movie that would, if it was the whole thing, it'd be an 8 out of 10. But unfortunately, it is a very long ride to get there. And I don't know that I want to see this movie again. And I can't give it anything higher than a 6 if I don't want to see it again. Now, would I watch that? Would I watch the 20 minutes of the thriller, the psycho thriller? Oh, yeah, I'd love to sit down and watch that again and see how they did it and all the rooms and the twists and turns and the Inception stuff. But I do not. The first hour of that movie, I have no desire to ever sit through that again. I glazed over, my eyes crossed. I don't want to see the first hour, period. So 6 out of 10. But Lauren, I've saved you because the audience, they were intrigued by what you had to say, and they can't wait to hear your score. So, Lauren, you get the final review number.
I think you kind of stole the words out of my mouth. I'm going to give it a 6, but I feel bad about that because if the entire movie was of the quality of the last third, it would be a solid 8. But it's not. And the first half, I think, is kind of inexcusable. But what makes this movie for me is the performance of Lewis Pullman. And when you see the scene that we're talking about, especially if you've dealt with anxiety, if you've ever felt it in a very acute way where your emotions are running away with you and you feel like your entire world is crashing down and it's all happening internally, I saw two things in that performance that hit me in an emotional way that I was not expecting. And honestly, I had an uncomfortable reaction to it because in a weird way, suddenly it's like, yes, this is what I feel sometimes. And one of the things that I saw was he was trying to say something that was untrue. And when he was saying it, he looked away. He couldn't look at the person that he was talking to. And you could see his control start to slip away. The other part is there is a scene where he is fighting his darker self. And at first, it's an emotional high point because you feel like, yes, he's fighting back. But then you see that he's destroying himself. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And when they get to the resolution of that scene, people have described this as the therapy scene, and I understand why. And if I had heard somebody describe it to me before I had seen it, I would have said, this is not going to work. This isn't good. I don't like this. Don't do this. It didn't hit me that way in the theater. When I saw it in the theater, it was cathartic in a way, because how they resolve the situation is how you would hope people who cared about you would resolve the situation. And that gave it an emotional high that I think could have made this movie excellent if only the first half had been good.
That's right. The message of the story is great, and that is that everybody goes through dark times, and that what you need your friends to gather around you, put their arms around you, and remind you that they've got your back, and you're going to be okay. That's a great story. The problem is there's a horrible trip, a non-adventure to get to that story. And boy, oh boy, I wish that we could give this a higher score. Still, folks, take a look. A 6.6 out of 10. Well, that would be a fresh, were it on Rotten Tomatoes, it would be a pretty good score on Criticless. We're not saying this is bad, but I'm saying that if you missed this in the theaters, I think it's okay. And if you want to watch the 30 minutes of it that's really fantastic on Disney Plus, I think that's okay. And if you want to go to the theater and arrive really, really late to this movie, it'll be okay. That might be the best play. That might be the best play. Go check out Minecraft. Get to the point where they throw the live chickens in the theater and then get out of there and go see the last part of Thunderbolts and say, well, darn it, I've had a good time at this cinema. This whole cinema thing's working out for me. Folks, that's the score from the Pro Channel, 6.6 out of 10 for Thunderbolts. And it's not great. It's not necessarily good. But there is a part of the film, a brief part of it, that is awesome. All right, let's get to the Super Chats because they're awesome. And then we'll wrap this one up, Vash.
Absolutely. Mary Vita with the 499. Hey, this show, I'm not sitting on a bus. I'm actually Ali Comey at home. I'm actually really at home, I believe. Gotta say that this is better. Yes, I would agree with that.
Maravita, Apple strikes again. Darn you, Apple.
Indeed. Oh, another 499 from Maravita. Thank you so much. As Megan Meggs said, Doomsday is Marvel's version of Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Well, the way they're doing it, where we've now heard that the script, is not done and they're shooting it. That's a pretty good way of doing it. Yes. So get Ryan and Colin ready for Avengers Doomsday.
And last but certainly not least, Liquid Fox with the Canadian $2. So yoo-hoo, brother.
Yoo-hoo.
I think he means yo-ho, brother. It's from our Toonie Talk streams.
Oh, yeah. It's a yo-ho, brother.
Darn you, Apple. You've got us one more time. Yo-ho, yo-ho. Oh, no. Pedro was in this one, and he'll be in the next one, too. All right, folks, it's been a great time spending time with you. 4 pro shows. No, wait. 5 live pro shows this week. I don't think we'll do that again anytime soon, but it was the way it played out, and we're happy to tell you what Thunderbolts is all about. I don't know that I want to see these characters again, but I appreciate the lesson that was in it. Folks, we hope you win it. Get out there and make the world a better place. And as we've been talking about anxiety and coming together, remember, take care of the people you love. That's a great thing to take away no matter what movie you're going to see, no matter who you're around. Watch out for those who are struggling. And if you're one of those individuals that are having a moment of struggle, seek out the people who love you, who lift you up and want the best for you. That's what we want you to do. And we want the best for you. And that, folks, is what it's all about. Until the next time, we have the honor and the joy of spending time with you, folks. We send you out the way we always do, right here. The mainstream. Aurora, you tricked me. Right at the end, they were ready to rise up, and then Aurora, literally on the second. Aurora for 2, the spaceship should be called. No, I can't say this. Oh, no. The Pedro pod. Oh, no. Oh, no. The mainstream media just can't understand how it is we continue to do what we do. They don't realize that we are powered by you, and you are
1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts!
Folks, we've still got decades and decades left in the can. It drives the mainstream mad.
Would it make you feel any better if you knew that what we're asking Matt here to do is a holy thing?
You see, we're on a mission from God.
We're on a mission from God.
Now you're gonna put me right back in the joint.
They're not gonna catch us. We're on a mission from God.
So, folks, as we always say as we end each and every show here, and we mean it, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Every time they hit him, he stood back up again. So they hit him harder. Still, he got back to his feet. Standing man.
This sunny side up sort of day.